Hi there, we have another round of Ask Me Anything where I get to answer your questions. And first up on this website, Alba is asking, let's see, verbatim, she says, if or when you run for president, will you be calling for term limits? Well, it's kind of a tricky question, I guess, because as an independent Alaskan especially, I agree with a lot of other independent Alaskans, generally not supporting term limits because I have said that the ballot box is what limits our politicians. And, you know, our founders had envisioned citizen legislators, right, that they would limit themselves to a certain number of years and then leave politics, especially at the federal level. They'd get on with life. But here in Alaska, we're a little bit different. We've only had 3 people in our entire congressional delegation. We've had our 2 senators and 1 congressman in all these years that we've been a state, 50-some years. And that's it. And we're a very small state. Some people say that we would be overlooked if it weren't for some chairmanships that our congressional delegation has acquired. Some people say that. A lot of those seniority rules, though, cause more problems than they solve. And a lot of politicians just crave those chairmanships and do whatever they can to get them. And a lot of those politicians look at politics, serving us, as a business. They're there for a season, not a reason. Politics is public service. It's not supposed to be looked at like that. So some of those seniority rules, I just can't support. I do fully understand. I appreciate the need for term limits. So I get it, the arguments in favor of term limits. There's often a detached status quo among politicians who've spent a lifetime in DC, and that is a bad thing. And I'm not sure if I've seen the right one-size-fits-all term limit solution as the way to go yet. But I'm certainly open to the arguments in favor of term limits. Let me ratchet it down even more, though. When I was a city council member, about 100 years ago here in this town, a city council member, I remember the nicest elderly lady. She was from a pioneering family. She was quite elderly. In fact, she was one of the pioneers who helped found our community. She was on city council and kept getting elected and elected. And I'm like, I didn't want to see her term limited out because she was good. She was conservative. She knew the way the city should be run. But on the other hand, you know, I respected that, I don't know, in a good way, there's an end in sight for politicians if they have term limits on them. And they should then be prompted and incentivized to do the very best job that they can as a public servant, knowing that they only had, say, 2 terms. I was term limited out as the mayor, as a city manager here. And, you know, governors have term limits. The president has term limits. Isn't it something that Congress doesn't have term limits? That they exempted themselves from term limit laws in some respects. But that shouldn't surprise us. They exempt themselves from a lot of things that they would hoist on the rest of us.